And then start. Okay, everybody's there. Okay, so today's agenda, me doing the opening remarks. So we'll put that in. Lou, can you put that in the chat? That's the recording from last week. If everybody wants to watch it, the CP Clinic last week. Goes into more in-depth stuff about the industry process, developer documentation, if you want to read all that. So, and then once again, we're going to have a brief introduction from Tom again regarding the industry process, just a brief summary. I'll just go over the developer documentation again, but very briefly, because most of it's on last week's video. Andrew's not going to be here now, so we'll move on from that. Andrew Kernahan from ISPA, then we've got David, Mike, and then we're going to have 3 suppliers of some software that they'll go through for the industry, and they'll be able to explain what they do. And it's really all about CPs that are wanting to grow their customer base, understand what software is out there in the marketplace to help you grow your customer base and to scale up. They're more than welcome to contact the suppliers afterwards, after the meeting, and there'll be Q&A afterwards if we've got time, and hopefully we have for some questions from them. So let's go through their presentations, and I think there'll be a video of some sort, Tony, and whoever wants to put a video up. So let's move on. So Tom is going to give us just a very brief overview of the industry process again. Over to you.
Thank you, Richard. Yeah, hi everybody. For those who weren't here last week, my name's Tom Merritt. I'm a business analyst here at Totsco. And as Richard has said, the presentation from last week is available online on our website, where we go into greater detail on the industry process, although it's still a high-level overview of the industry process. And we really would recommend reading the document in its entirety for everybody on the call today. So the industry process is an 80-page working document written by a design group of industry experts and very experienced and knowledgeable people. And the process itself is owned by industry. Totsco are the custodians of the process, so we would be a sort of a touch point for you guys to ask questions about the industry process, but industry are the actual owners of the process and of the document. The document's purpose is to cover the one-touch switch process and how this will work for CPs, as well as providing details on how match requests work between customer records. And if we see here, we have a very simple diagram of the one-touch switch process. So we see the customer contacting a new provider. They request the new services and details. They would then automatically receive the switching information from their current provider and get contract details from the new provider to consent to a switch. And then on the agreed date, the new services would begin and the old services would cease. So the idea being that the customer can go to their gaining provider, the new provider, request services and then would not have to deal with their current provider, their losing provider, at any point during that process. So Totsco come into this process. We were formed by the industry with the task of implementing a hub messaging system for the one-touch switch process to enable this to operate. So the hub, and this is something that Rich and I are working on. I'm sure he'll cover further in his slides. Is required to send messages between CPs for all aspects of the switching process, and these messages will contain the necessary information for the CP to match this, the losing CP to match this to their customer records. So as I say, we went into greater detail in this in the previous presentation that's available on the website, but really refer to the main document for the full details. It really is a conclusive document covering all eventualities and all examples of potential complications within the switching process. But essentially this boils down to a switch match request being sent from the gaining provider to the losing provider sending a response, either confirming a match or saying there was a match failure. On the basis of it being a success, there would be a subsequent message from the gaining provider to the losing provider to sort of request the switch order message, and again a response from the losing provider to confirm or say this was a failure, and then a final message triggering the switch from the gaining provider to the losing provider, and then the losing provider coming back to the gaining provider to either again confirm that the switch has taken place or that it has failed. There's other potential message types, such as a cancellation message. Maybe the customer has changed their mind during the switch process, and this can be sent from the gaining provider to the losing provider. But these are the message types that the hub will contain and will send between CPs for the switching process. As I say, in the previous presentation, we went into greater detail on the matching process. I don't think we will today, but I would refer you to for the document, the full industry process document for the match process and how that will work. But essentially, the initial messages will contain things like the customer surname, their address, and any other additional information, such as maybe the account number if the customer has this available, and that will enable the losing provider to attempt to match this to their existing customer records to produce a successful match. But as I say, please refer to the previous presentation that's uploaded to the Totsko website, or to the industry process document in its entirety, which we would recommend you all read, and that is also available on the Totsko website. So yeah, thank you for your time today. Just a very brief overview of the process from our side, and I hope you refer to the document in full. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, I'm just going to go very, very briefly over this slide here. Once again, we've alluded to the fact that if you want to find out more detail, please download the recording and watch that at your own time, and you can pause it, rewind it, and understand. So for organizations who don't particularly understand what the development document is and what an API is, I'll just do a very, very brief understanding for that. So we're writing a hub. A hub is a messaging center, a bit like a mailbox and a post box. And for software developers to be able to talk to each other in terms of the gaining and the losing CPs through the hub, we need to create a standardized messaging platform. And we use a process called an API, which is an application program interface. It's not too daunting, but it's a set of messages that everybody who uses the messaging hub through their software understands the standard message. And within a standard message, there are certain options and parameters and information that you need to send to each other. This is all in the developer documentation. If you want to download it, if you haven't already, please do so and read it at your leisure. So it's really used for software development teams to send messages to each other very securely through our platform that we're soon to be building. We're just about to go through some vendor selection. We've down selected 3 vendors at the moment who are going to be writing the hub, along with the periphery portal and some billing platforms. And once we've chosen our vendors, they will write this platform, and then we'll be able to start our testing, our end-to-end testing, and also the delivery of the service. So I've already inferred that who uses an API, software developers, but do you have to use an API? No, you don't. Today, we're going to look at some vendors today who are coming on who can offer some software, who may be able to help you with that sort of process. So we'll go through that. I'll let them discuss what they're going to suggest. And also, Totsko's looking at a small retailer portal, what we're calling the MASH. And that is going out to develop a piece of software that you can use if you're not a software developer, that you need to be able to connect and send messages to if you're the loser or the gainer. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but watch this space. As I said, lots of detail on last week's conversation. So I can hand over to Andrew. Andrew's not here, but I think what Andrew's going to say was that he's a director of Totsko, and there he is.
Yes,
hello, Andrew.
I've been here all the time.
Great, it's brilliant.
It's t'other Andrew that's missing, I think.
Yes, I just read that actually, so apologies. Andrew is here.
Don't worry, that's fine. Yes, just a quick recap on the Totsco board. So that's made up of 6 directors who reflect the different member constituencies in order to give a hopefully a rounded feel to the board. Obviously, we are directors of the company, so our primary duty is to Totsco itself, but we come bringing knowledge and experience and connections to the various different segments of the industry. So that's the larger CPs, medium, small, as well as business focused and infrastructure providers as well. So my sort of remit and background is from the smaller CPs, and obviously as part of that working very much with the trade associations, because most of those small CPs are sort of hidden away and haven't generally got involved with regulators and industry groups, etc. So we very much want to hear from people. We want to know who they are, where they are, and just to please still to register your interest with Totsco directly so that we can obviously keep sending out emails, messages, newsletters, etc., and keep people informed. But also we want to hear from you in terms of what your challenges are, what your understandings, non-understandings, etc. are. So any concerns, etc., either relay those through trade associations or you can contact me directly, and we'll try and do whatever we can to assist. That's right. Do you want me to cover the ISPA bit as well?
I think that would be good. I was just about to say, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. The stuff on the slide, you can read that, but just to say that ISPA is probably the one of the larger trade bodies that covers the whole of industry. So it's not for a particular niche. It's very much focused on regulatory work across the whole of the sector and the industry, and can provide a lot of updates on all the various legislation and stuff that's coming through. But obviously a lot of the members are smaller members as well, and ISPA takes on very much a role of trying to represent those that haven't got a voice. So within that sort of regulatory discussion. Now, I also sit on the council of ISPA as partly with the Totsco role. So that's probably the quick overview of ISPA.
Fantastic, thank you very much. So we'll move on to David now. Are you there, David?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning. Hi.
Brilliant.
Okay, just a brief overview of the UK Wireless Internet Service Providers Association. We are the trade body that looks after operators who provide fixed wireless access for their broadband. There's something between 100 and 200,000 premises in the UK that are served using outdoor fixed wireless equipment. Most of those are in very rural settings. We have 104 members, of which the very, very large majority are very small organisations. So some of those are community interest companies run by volunteers and so on. So some of our members are extremely small. Some are bigger and more regarded as hybrid altnets. Next slide, please. Whoever's driving the slides, please.
I've done that, haven't I?
I'm still seeing the same slide at the moment.
Has anybody else seen the same slide?
I'm seeing the next slide.
Oh,
Okay,
David,
just me then.
need to catch up.
Okay. Look at that. That's what you get with gigabit broadband, slow response times. Okay, so we did a survey of members in December, and we specifically about the implementation of OTS. And one of the things that's characteristic is that many of our members, because they're so small, don't use automated back office systems, and some are completely manual. Many use things like Google Docs and spreadsheets and those sort of things. So of particular concern is the timeliness of or the speed of response needed to answer matching requests. There's a proposed 60-second response time. It's not really practical to do that manually, so it does require people to use automated systems, and some of our members don't have any automated systems on which to work. So, and quite a large number of our members were very concerned that they don't have the resource to be able to implement such systems at all, let alone in the time frame of April. And the final slide, please. I presume the slide has moved on because I can't see it. There we are. Thank you. So we'd like to put forward a couple of recommendations. We know that this isn't necessarily the business of TOTSCO, but it's an important liaison with Ofcom. One suggestion would be that if operators are very small, let's say less than 100,000 customers, perhaps there could be some concessions. One of those might be, instead of a 60-second response time for matching requests, they could be given 48 hours. That would mean that they could work reasonably manually using some kind of a portal or other system, or even exempt them from the mandatory requirements to adopt OTS, so that it could be a voluntary for very small operators. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. And we'll move on to Mike. Mike, I took out your bit about how many days left. maybe you want to bring that up.
It's 48 now. 48 working days to go.
There you go.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see the request for a summary, but
no, that's fine. I left your slides in case you wanted to go through them quickly, or we can zoom on. It's up to you.
I will just I'll do a summary of some of them.
Okay.
So just for those who for whom Inca's new, we've been around for 13 years now. We represent the new infrastructure providers, those who build them, those who use them, and those who advise on them. And in more recent years, a lot of local authorities and LEPs have been working with us, and we now have a significant number of members who are from the investor community who are funding the growth in AltNets. So if we could just go to the slide 4, please, Richard. One after that.
This one.
Yep, that's it. So
that one. Okay, we're back.
Yeah, just to say we're now up to about 220 members and still growing. Virgin Business have just joined us. So we've got everybody from, the really rather large infrastructure operators like CityFibre, who have many operators using them, all the way down to members who are the sort of size that David alludes to, small community-run, volunteer-run organisations with no budget, no ability to get involved with doing anything with developers. So we're trying to focus on getting some assistance for them as well, and we think we're getting there. So you can skip a couple of slides. That's just a bit of our corporate, this is what we do and this is what we've done. This is the important bit. We've been involved with the creation of GPL. Let's not forget that everybody is mandated to do gaining provider-led switching, whether or not they're operating in the retail space where OTS is mandated for residential. But we've been involved in this since the consultations on the EECC. We've been on the various OTA working groups, and our new infrastructure operator director, who sits on the TOTSCO board, is Gita Sorensen, who many of you will know. She advises Inca members and non-Inca members all across the industry. We also work with other industry bodies, the BSG, DCMS, BDUK, and make representations to Ofcom as well. I think the most important piece of work that we've done in recent years is the work on switching wholesale and OTS. And we have published on our website a GPL and OTS action plan for operators. So if you haven't done anything at all about OTS, download this document, read it, and start at step 1. It's broken down into every single step, from not just development, but also, remember this, you have to change your business process of customer journey, customer acquisition, and customer loss, and get all your teams trained to be ready to do this, with or without the OTS hub. You'll still be expected to do gaining provider-led switching on 3rd of April. So skates on. Next slide, please. And we have a lot of resources around OTS. We've got the special interest group. We've got webinars. We've done webinars before. We've got more webinars coming up. We have newsletters. And I think the important thing is as I said, we cover most of the industry, building the industry. We have third-party integrator and vendor members, and we have members with OTS compliant switching platforms, at least 3. And I noticed 2 of those members are going to give a demonstration later on, which I can only commend to the house, as they say. So that's us. That's what we do. If we can help, just reach out to us at those websites and email address there.
Thank you very much, Mike. Brilliant. We're going to move on to Johan now from NetAdmin. So are you there, Johan?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much, Richard.
Thank you very much.
Is there any possibility? Yes. Is there a possibility that I could take over the presentation so I can run a very short demo?
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you crack on.
Thank you very much. Okay. Johan Hjalmarsson representing NetAdmin. So I will run a short introduction of NetAdmin, and then I will run a very short demo of the NetAdmin platform itself. So who are NetAdmin? We are vertical market software vendor for fiber network operators. And we are more or less working with automating business and operational processes and assure the quality within those processes. And we have our software called NetAdmin, and it's a pre-integrated and purpose-built OSS BSS for fiber network owners. And we are specialists in wholesale and open access due to our history, and founded in 2004 as an operator spin-off. I'm based in Sweden, and the major contributor to the fiber to the home industry in the Nordics, Switzerland, Netherlands, and the UK. And since 2015, we are part of the Volaris Group and Constellation Software Inc. Constellation Software Inc. is listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. So we have about 75 deployments in 15 plus countries. And if we would name a few that might be familiar, in the UK, that's GigaClear and Tube. We have others as well. I think we have 9 operators in the UK at the moment. So what do we do then? We do not do network planning and rollout, and we do not do invoicing of customers. However, we provide the billing data for doing the invoicing. We take care of fiber and service ordering. We make sure that the work orders are orchestrated, scheduled, and managed by technicians. We take care of service provisioning in the fiber network, and we have a lot of support functionality for monitoring, ticketing, troubleshooting, communicating with the customers. And this is just an overview. This is a highly simplistic system landscape of a fiber operator. And on the top, you have the customers, and in a wholesale scenario, you would have external retail service providers interfacing with the platform. In this blue box here, you can see this is more or less NetAdmin with the product offering that we have with our capabilities in the bottom here, and on the top, you had our add-ons. And we integrate towards service providers and the customer on top, so they can do availability checks, ordering, problem handling, and so on. On the right-hand side, you could see an invoicing system. So we provide billing data that you would extract from NetAdmin, either via an integration or extract information and put that into an invoicing system. In the bottom here, southbound, you have the interaction with the network, and NetAdmin communicates with the network either directly or via element management systems for configuration, activation, but also to gather monitoring information. And to the left-hand side, you can see that the GIS or network planning tool provides NetAdmin with ready-for-sale address information. And within NetAdmin, I mean, the base capabilities in dark blue boxes here are customer management, order management, ticket management, monitoring, provisioning, address management, and resource controller. And resources are more or less OLTs, ONTs, core equipment, CPEs, and so on. And the controller then communicates with the network. And then when it comes to fiber network owners, the address object as such is rather important in a way, and it's decoupled from the customer object in NetAdmin, and that has to do with many reasons, but wholesale is one of the reasons, but there is also this, I mean, the address will remain, but the customers will come and go in a way. And then we have also a loose decoupling between the product catalog and the technical service provisioning as well, to separate the offering from the technical realization in the network. Okay, so I'm going to run a short demo. I'm going to run 5 different use cases. I will search for an address in the customer-facing portal, and I will register interest. And I will search for another address and place an order. And I will show you how the fiber installation portal works. And then I will continue with viewing a customer subscription and doing some troubleshooting. And the 5th use case would be for me to log on as a service provider in the service provider portal and place an order. So that's really demonstrating the wholesale scenario as well. So I will rush through this demo. I hope it will be interesting anyway. So I will just prepare my demo system here. And let's go. So this is just our boilerplate, our template portal for a customer-facing portal. This is something that most operators do customize to their own needs and their own processes and their own sales and marketing approach. But here you could, for example, click on Get Fiber. You could enter a postal code. You could enter a street name and number and search for that. And I search for street number 1 here, and I'm not able to do any ordering on this address, but I'm able to register interest of getting fiber on this address. So I can enter first name, last name, email, and phone, and click register. So I've registered interest on this address, and if I jump inside the NetAdmin administrative portal, I'm able to see how street number 1 looks like. So this is street number 1 inside NetAdmin. We can see that it has a build-out status set to planned. That was the reason why we only could register interest on this address. And we can see here that we have actually a date for when it's ready for delivery. If I reload this page, I'm able to see that we have now gotten the fiber interest registered here. So if I click on that, we can see the record that I entered in the portal. Of course, this could be extracted to a marketing solution or just managed in another way. So if I now search for another address, street number 2 instead, that has the build-out status set to past, that will give us some other options. So I will click on Get Fiber, click on enter the postal code, enter street, and enter street number 2 instead, and search for that. And that will give us the possibility to actually order fiber. In the UK, I think you would add steps for setting up direct debit mandate, and also, for example, to choose and pick for the customer themselves to pick an available time slot for installation. That would be part of this journey. This boilerplate that I'm showing you right now doesn't have that. But we could just proceed to checkout. We'll not add any other products and services. We'll enter first name and last name and a phone, email address. And click on continue. So here we could see that we have a monthly fee, start fee, and a lot of other information. We could just click on confirm. And we have actually, by doing so, placed an order within NetAdmin. So if we go back to the NetAdmin UI and reload this page, we can see that we have actually placed an order for fiber connection here, and it's waiting to be connected. And we have also created a customer as part of this journey. Important steps going forward now is that the technician, if the customer has chosen a time slot for installation, the technician knows that and will plan accordingly and go out and perform the installation. On site, when the technician is on site and doing the installation, after the ONT is installed, they can utilize a portal called the Fiber Installation Portal to really verify that the installation has been done correctly. So I will also show you that. I will jump to street number 3 instead, and we can see that street number 3 is not activated. This is, by the way, the third use case. We will activate an address through the Fiber Installation Portal. So we will simulate that we are out on the field as a technician. We have our newly installed ONT. We plug something into that ONT. And we have that ONT pre-configured with a walled garden service that redirects every request to this portal. What Netadmin will do now is that we will, based on DHCP option 82 information, we will be able to see what specific ONT has been installed on this location. Sorry. So we know exactly what ONT the technician chose from his van based on option 82 information. If there is no link between that ONT and the address, you would end up in this view. So the technician needs to filter out an address that would link that ONT together with the virtual OLT port and that address object. In this case, we will choose a specific address and we'll end up in this view. So now we have bound the address street number 3 to the newly installed ONT together with all the details regarding the virtual OLT port that it has been assigned. Here on the right-hand side, we can also extract signal values from the actual installation based on the ONT and OLT. And we can also verify those values. And we can even prohibit an activation of this address based on those values. But if everything looks fine and the technician entered the right validation code, this could be based on work order IDs or address ID or anything else, something that would verify that they actually have chosen the right address. Then you could click on confirm all details, and we have successfully then activated the address. If we jump back to street number 3, reload this page, we can see that it's now activated. And the interesting thing with this is that at this stage, we know that the installation has been carried out successfully, and we can even go further with any orders that has been placed on this address, and we can send out the bill to the customer. So we get a very, very automated journey here. Okay, I will continue with running a very short troubleshooting procedure on a customer. Clicking on street number 4.
Johan, just to
Yes.
let you know, we've got some other speakers, so
Yep. Okay.
thank you
Good.
very much.
Yes. I will just click on Internet 900 here, and I will click on ONT status to get troubleshooting information. So this will go out directly to the network and provide real-time data on how the ONT is performing. You can also click on port traffic to get a port graph. I will skip the last use case and let the other speakers continue. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Johan. It's fantastic. I'm sure there'll be lots of questions afterwards. I just, if we could just scootle through, then we can leave some questions, some space for questions afterwards. And then, obviously, if you can leave your details in the chat, then people can get hold of you. Thank you very much. Tony, did you want to do your own slides?
Yes, I'll do that. Thank you very much.
Okay, why don't you take over control?
Okay, so I'm going to start with a brief video, if that's okay with everybody. This video, just a disclaimer, is focused on mobile, and the intent is to give you a view of what a modern BSS looks like. I'm not talking about the OSS piece today. I'll come back after the video and explain. Is that visible to everyone?
You revolutionize customer experience, seamless across all channels. We integrate any line of business into one convergent solution. We simplify your digital transformation. Exceed expectations. Blue Marble Commerce transforms your business. Upsell, cross-sell in a split second. Increase your sales conversion. Reduce the average handling time, and cut down fallout rates. With one central product catalog, Blue Marble Commerce makes it easy to create new bundles while minimizing errors with automated processes. We'll tell you how. Meet Megan. She receives a notification offering her a new phone. Megan browses the options in her app and decides to check one of the latest smartphones in the store. She adds the deal to the shopping bag. Megan visits a retail store to check out the phone. Scott looks up her customer profile and recognizes her saved shopping bag. The 360 customer dashboard combines all data from different back-end systems and gives him insight into Megan's products, subscriptions, and online activities. Based on intelligent ruling, personalized offers are shown. He also notices several internet promotions are available on her home address. Scott offers Megan a combined bundle. In just one click, Scott adds the entire bundle, including personalized pricing, to the basket. Megan signs the contract and receives a copy via email, wrapping up the deal in a heartbeat. From product selection till delivery orchestration, Blue Marble Commerce supports you every step of the way. Blue Marble Commerce, the end-to-end omnichannel commerce solution.
Right, that concludes the video. I'll just quickly pop some slides up and run through with you. So I am from Tech Mahindra. Is that actually presenting or not presenting?
You need to present. Yeah. We can only see the video at the moment. There we go.
Okay, we have that instead. Very good. So I'll put it in presentation mode, make it easier for everybody. So I represent Tech Mahindra, and particularly the Blue Marble piece of Tech Mahindra, which is the product division of the company. I'm not going to give you the worldwide stats because it's a very big company, Tech Mahindra, but in the UK, we provide service for network related pieces into over 30 million households today. We've been in the UK for over 30 years already, and companies like BT, Virgin Media, TalkTalk, many of the larger players we are already present in. That's from a services perspective, but from a product perspective, as Blue Marble, we have focused on the BSS piece, and Richard asked me to talk about BSS, which I will do very shortly. We play in the BSS space and predominantly have driven into automated, digital, and modular ways of doing things. So just to confuse everybody, I thought I'd put a slide with a hell of a lot of little boxes on it. So what is BSS versus OSS? So in the world that we all play, communications world, BSS is the business support systems. Everything that is required to drive the business, not the technology that delivers the business, not the OSS, which is operational support. So you will see on this slide, this isn't an architecture view, it's just a functional view that shows everything that's required to take a concept to a customer and retain that customer and grow them. This is the area that we particularly play. The video that I showed you showed the apps, self-care portals, etc. All of this is in production today. In multiple geographies, we have over 90 countries that we supply to. And I wanted to just very quickly touch the sell journey, the commerce journey, because this is very relevant to the conversation that you guys are having right now around OTS. On this slide, I'm not going to go through everything. These slides will be available to everybody afterwards, but I did want to touch a few things. One, I'll talk about this in a bit more detail. The product catalog is absolutely critical to everything that is done down track. And in our case, we're particularly interested in the commercial catalog. So what you sell is absolutely defined. You then need the ability to drive that. So some sort of configure, price, and quote process to deliver it. You need to do your availability checks, etc. As Johan was telling us a short while ago. This is critical, but once that's happened, you need to actually instantiate your customer somewhere where you can manage them. That's a CRM, a customer resource manager, and you need to be able to build them and look after them on an ongoing basis. That's very, very brief, high-level glance into the world of BSS. Just a couple of pointers. Firstly, the touch points these days, you saw on the video, the apps, the self-care portals, etc., very, very important. But there's all sorts of channels, your contact centers, whether it's something that is sold via a retail store, which is where things are going, or telesales or social media, whatever it may be, have to be able to access your systems seamlessly. And this is done via APIs. Richard gave a very good overview earlier about the APIs. Don't want to go into the developer details of it at all. This is not the purpose today. But those APIs should be, as far as possible, standardized. So when you're look for something that has those as a standard, then you can use any plug and play bits. So let me quickly take you into the scenario of a commercial journey. So as I said earlier, the commercial catalog is absolutely critical part. That piece is where you would consume your various different supplier products. You may be buying from a network wholesaler, you might be buying even from a Netflix or whoever it might be. But if you want to sell those products on to your end customers, you need a way to actually instantiate those products and how they get delivered. You need a way then that your customer can put them into a shopping cart and buy them. And then you very much need rules around how you can sell them. So as a very quick example, if I were to want to buy a brand new service from an ISP that doesn't sell in my area, I might go online, I might try to buy it, but I need to be qualified out because I'm not, you don't support my geography. So the rules need to be there in order to support that. Once that product qualification is done, which includes address lookups, etc., as we saw earlier, then the product can be put into the cart and you might want to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead, I want to order. That then will go into a commercial order orchestrator from our perspective, which will do a few things. One, if it's a switch, it's going to send a message to OTS to say, hey, this customer wants to switch, and it's going to immediately start that process from running or to run. Once that process is happening, it's all very well defined in the documentation that was presented earlier or talked about earlier. And eventually order management will get a thing back saying, okay, a message back saying, yes, it's okay, you can start the process now of the physical switch. It's all taken care of. At that point, it would go into a service order orchestrator of some variety. It could be with a partner. So it could be your wholesaler's service order manager, or it could be your own to actually physically make the connection happen. From there, it'll go into the CRM journey that I talked about earlier, where the customer can see where their order's at, and it will go into the billing, because now you need to start getting paid for the service you've delivered. That's a very, very brief overview of BSS, and a little bit about the order, the commercial journey of the order, which is pretty much what I had time to do in 15 minutes. I hope I've made my 15 minutes, Richard.
Thank you very much, Tony. That's great. Okay, so our last speaker today is Niall from Sonolake. Do you want to share your screen, or would you like me to?
Please, if we can share.
Michael's
you can share.
So while Michael's getting it up, first of all, Richard and everyone, many thanks for inviting Sonolake to present to this clinic this morning. And as we're well aware, and I quote my good friend Mike Locke there, we're now 48 days away from implementing the OTS hub officially. And because we're within touching distance of the OTS becoming a reality, we're seeing a number of specific questions starting to arise. And we want to address some of these here. One specific question surrounds how RSPs, can best access the hub. And because obviously I'm going last, that's been covered. David already said, look, not everybody has a big in-house IT team. So that's the question is, okay, you've got the big players and you've got a small player. How do I do it? That's one question. But another question arising is really about prioritization of the internal resources, the internal systems, and the internal processes. And for everybody here in this call, that's different. There's one API, there's one interface, but everybody has their own systems. And that we see creating a few challenges. Michael, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slides, please. Now, I'm not here to do any kind of sales pitch, but I do want to introduce who Sonolake are and how we can help specifically in OTS. So Sonolake have been around for about 20 years, actually over 20 years. And initially we were purely in the telecom. Now I've put up some of our telecom logos there. And these represent, as you see, a big swathe of the very large players down to, if you look at eNet, they're an open access player. They deal with very small CPs. And then we also then a couple of years ago branched out into the non-telco sector, where we actually deal with things like fintech, travel tech, and internet. And currently we're split 50-50 between those. The reason I bring that up is being in other verticals has allowed us to pick up on new technologies that we have brought into our OSS and BSS systems, including OTS. And then what's our relevance to OTS? Well, Sonolake has been involved in the OTS process for several years. As Mike will say, myself, Mike, and a few more were in the initial process back in 2018. We're part of the INCA-SWIG work group. I think we would like to see ourselves as very valuable contributors. And also, we are partnered with one of those who have responded and are still in the OTS TOTSCO process to build a hub. But everything I'm saying today is outside that, just to make it very clear. So just to pick up on some of the points, like what has become clear is that the two specific areas that are really coming up time and time again is, as a CP, how can I go about integrating to the OTS hub? And because it was alluded earlier, yes, you can go in via the API or portal, or what we're seeing now is smaller players looking at third parties to help them fulfill that. So a third party who is integrated via an API and then gives them a portal. And we'll talk about some of those later. So for us in Sonolake, we looked at the challenge we've been listening to people, and we've developed some tools to bring retail service providers along this journey. So firstly, we offer an advisory service to help the retail service provider understand exactly what needs to be implemented across their various systems and processes. Now the output of that is a gap analysis, and then we then step through, for ourselves, well, where there are specific gaps identified, SonLake have a suite of existing software modules that can help plug these gaps. And as I said earlier, everybody has different stacks, everybody has different processes. So we have some components we push in there. And then if someone decides they want to build their own API or internal portal, well, our software services assist there. That's what we do. And this removes the onus on the internal IT teams to kind of skill up on what the requirements are, what they need to do. And again, we already have a lot of software built to make this easier. And then lastly, we're currently in discussion with a number of organizations that are looking to offer OTS integration as a service to smaller players. And they would like to use, obviously, our platform to do that. So I'd like to get into some of these in some more detail. So I'll hand it over to my colleague, Michael Slevin, who's also been very active on the Inca SWIG and OTS for the last couple of years. Michael?
Yeah, thanks, Niall. Good morning, everybody. So what we've done, shown here in this diagram, we've tried to capture what we think is the impact of the introduction of OTS in one image. It's a crude distillation of the 84-page document and the process diagrams. Light blue here are the impacted systems. You're going to change, every CP will change processes to a certain extent. Some of these changes are one-off, maybe like data cleansing. Others are they're with you for the foreseeable future. The green bits here, these are integrations, right? So the light green, the light green up here is really more or less automated functionality. Due to the SLAs, it's very hard not to be automated here. Sorry, due to the proposed SLAs, and perhaps Richard will have something to say on how that consultation process went. And it depends on your real estate, how easy it is to connect, how easy it is to interact will vary. And I'll talk later in a few moments about for the micro CPs, basically the requirement to deliver swivel chair functionality, accessing the same functionality via portals. But one of the ironies here of the OTS process is even if you're a vertically integrated provider, you can still lose customers through overbuild. And you need to spend money to satisfy the OTS requirements. You still need this listener that's listening for match requests. You need to extract via some ETL process from your service inventory, possibly from your CRM or from your account data. You need to match that surname with an address and have it ready to rock, presenting addresses in the PAF format. It's for some operators, that's going to be easy. For some providers, for others, particularly perhaps in the rural areas where, is it UPRN already? If it's not UPRN, our experience in Ireland, I think our worst case was 158 identical addresses. Very hard to figure out who you've delivered service to without the UPRN equivalent. Okay, so how much effort is it to go back over your data and UPRN it, because UPRNs haven't been around forever. And that will vary per provider. So you need this listener on listening 24/7. The current SLA was proposed at 60-second response time. You need to deliver not alone the switching information, but also whether this the end customer is still in contract. Are there early termination charges? And these are just the happy paths, right? There's unhappy paths as well when you don't get a match, and that's going to create additional effort on you to lose a customer, right? So you need to be able to handle tickets to, can you provide us with the account number for this customer? On the gaining side, You need perhaps to be able to change your process to accommodate multiple surnames. Mary is coming in now as Mary Smith, but the service is actually in a maiden name. It's somebody else in the apartment. They simply haven't updated the tenant data. Yeah. So the customer journey is going to vary. And of course, the order management will vary. Is it on your own infrastructure? Is it on a third-party wholesale offering? Right. So again, you're not used to termination messages coming. You're used to having a nice customer-facing. Do you really want to go? Can you stay? Will you? We can offer you an explicit package. Right now, you're going to be getting a notification coming from the hub to, hey, they're going in on the 3rd of June, and that's that, right? If you're coming via a wholesale platform, you'll already be getting spontaneous losses. Okay, so this translating this into a fully integrated, somebody who's integrating via the APIs, you end up with something like this. And but here we're talking to smaller providers, smaller CPs, right? And this is really what I think, or what we think they are looking for, right? So they're looking for portal, work on my own Excel sheet, as David said, work on my Excel sheets, initiate a match, initiate a switch, listen in real time. So we need a listener to listen to these, because I don't want to look at this portal every day. All right, I only want to look at this portal when I need to. So convert the incoming messages into email, create a ticket. If there's a ticketing system, it's going to vary depending on providers, right? So this is the type of stuff that we as a company are used to. So Niall mentioned a company there, eNet, where we're providing API portal functionality for small people. The smaller ones literally have in the hundreds of customers or hundreds of end customers, and downstream we end up talking to 3 or 4 different API sets, right, depending on who on the underlying wholesaler, right? So it's a similar type issue here. They want notifications in email because, hey, do I have to get out of bed here? I'm a volunteer. I've got an email on a Sunday. I can work on that on Monday, and I can progress it in real time. But you still need this autoresponder. So we're, as Niall said, actively talking to, we're a software developer. We don't operate these systems for people. So we're actively engaged with a number of interested parties who want to stand up something that looks like this for the benefit of the smaller providers. And the other thing about portals is that even the large integrators, usually in the early steps, somebody makes a change. So Richard, Totsko, Tom, BA, sorry, Tom, I don't mean this is a denigratory thing, but you know, somebody wants to introduce a new error condition or a new condition that introduces some change. Everybody does not integrate their APIs in the same speed. So people will use portals to validate that, hey, my system is out of sync. I'm dealing with a trouble ticket here. Let's see what Totsko think the story is via the portal, and here, this is what my internal system is. We've made a mistake somewhere, or some small change has impacted in some way. So it's quite normal to even early onboarding, right? Some organizations will take a lot longer to integrate to APIs than others. Some are agile, some are less so. And that's really it. So maybe back to Niall.
Yeah, well, no, I think you said it all, Michael. And I mean, we, again, in a very short space of time, we just wanted to give everyone a feel for the key steps and maybe how to walk yourself through those. Richard, I don't know, is there anything else you want to say for that? Because we're, so other than that, guys, we're happy to take questions afterwards.
No, I think that's absolutely fine. As I wanted to kind of infer at the beginning of the call and when we set up the clinic, just to let everybody know that we do have 2 other clinics coming on the 2nd and the 9th of February. They are for more in-depth conversations around the APIs. This clinic and the previous one was more about trying to understand what smaller micro CPs, the process of what they had to do with the industry process, the developer documentation. And then this clinic was just more of a follow-up to kind of suggest and help smaller CPs to understand what sort of software and assistance there is out there in the marketplace for when you want to grow, when you can grow, when you do grow, and when you scale up. And it wasn't all about having to write software against the hub. That was really what I was trying to infer with this clinic today. So if you are a software developer, or you are a business analyst, or you're very interested in how the APIs work, we do have a clinic. I think the first one is currently full. So if you're on that, fantastic. The second one on the 9th of February, please do sign up. And we have our chief architects from the industry process and from the API specification, the developer documents on those calls as well. I think they're here today as well. And they will be answering any questions that you have regarding implementing the APIs for your own back-end systems. So thank you very much for all the speakers. Thank you very much for everyone turning up. If we have any more questions, please put them in the chat, and we'll absolutely answer them as best as we can. There was an earlier question about whether we're going to put suppliers for these sorts of BSS solutions out there. I had planned to put some an industry forum up at some stage where all of our industry colleagues and partners can log on to and start chatting with each other regarding the OTS, the One Touch Switch service, and about suppliers. So maybe there'll be a category there of suppliers putting their name up and what they can offer to industry. So watch this space. It probably isn't going to be in the next couple of weeks, but we will be doing it hopefully. And then once again, if you want to get in touch with our current speakers, please do, absolutely. And if you have any more questions, please put them in the chat. Otherwise, thank you very much, everybody. And for those who are coming next week on the 2nd and the 9th, we will see you then.
Thank you very much.
So we'll hang on just in case there's any more questions. Otherwise, feel free to get on with the rest of your day. I know everyone's very busy. Thanks, Niall. Thanks, Tony. That's brilliant. Really good. And Johan, if you're still there. And hopefully that was okay.
Yeah, listen, thank you very much for organising it, Richard. It's a long process.
Indeed. Have a good one.
Take care, guys.